Well, hello there. I hope that you all have found this broadcast. We were just talking away, and apparently, I don't know what happened. Let me put something on my community page real quick, uh, because I think people are still hanging out on the other. Uh, I had to start a new live. It says I had to start a new life. Boy, do I feel like that. I feel that one now. I feel that one. All right. Okay. All right. We have some people. I am so sorry. We were talking. Wait, for some reason, all of a sudden, it decided not to connect to YouTube. I have no idea. I have no idea what's going on. All right. Hello, honeybee. A strongly worded letter. Just Deb. I put it on my community page that I had to start a new live. If y'all can Discord people, that would be great. I hate that people are looking at the last one. It should have been okay. Jinx is here. Jinxie, if you could let an Indie Pam, hey, thank you. Y'all just let anybody know. And Michele is backstage, but if you have any way to put a Facebook post up real quick or something to let them know to just go on my channel, because that link's not going to work. Yeah, you're right. And I don't want her to start her story until we get everybody in here. This is so weird, y'all. A lot of us were just in Ruckus's live. And he was having trouble. And I didn't anticipate any trouble tonight, but yet here we are. Hello, Raggedy Susan. Honey Bee. Four pit bulls. Gosh, I'm having trouble talking tonight too. Hello, Professor Pug. I haven't talked to you in a few days. Butterfly kisses. It is good to see you. Hope you're doing good. All right. Yes, it was an old link, and it's because we were on here, everything was going, but it was not connecting to YouTube for whatever stupid reason. All right. Well, I am going to go ahead. I don't want to take a whole lot of time, but I did want to get people in here, so I hope they all find the new link. Please hit that like button, the thumbs up. We're gonna try to get it going over here. Okay. We're going to introduce. You know I love that button. We're gonna introduce Michele. Hello.
That is so bad.
You can back up if you want to, but it's fine with me. It's fine with me.
No, that's fine. It's just I don't know what I'm doing right there.
That's okay. I'll make you a little bit smaller. Here, let me see if I can adjust you. You know, here's the thing. She was having such a problem getting her face in there. I was only seeing the top of her head, and then I was seeing her eyes and nose. We finally got her in there. So, you know.
And then my eyes are closed.
It is what it is.
It is what it is.
What is going on? Okay. All right. Let me just tell you, because I told Michele I've got storms in the area. Of course I do, because I'm trying to go live. So I don't know. It looked like it was syncing for a second, but maybe y'all didn't see that. Maybe it was just my computer. All right. So anyway, I want to introduce Michele, but I first want to talk about, this is like the Delphi crew. And so, I mean, love the Delphi crew, but we all know that Kokomo is very closely related. We all, have had a theory at least once, y'all, of somebody in the Abby and Libby case that's possibly part of the Kokomo crew. And so when, you start investigating what the heck is going on in Kokomo, I mean, it takes you about 5 minutes to start seeing red flag after red flag after red flag. So, I was in contact with Michele Barton, and let me put this up here. She has a son named Tanner. I want to show you his picture. Look at that. What a handsome guy. Can you see him, Michele?
Yes. That's
All
one of my
right.
favorite pictures of him, actually.
Oh, I loved it. I looked through all of them. I stole this one off your Facebook.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah.
I'm a thief. Okay, but Michele went through a very, very, not only traumatic because she lost her son at age 19, but what happened that night and what happened afterwards, y'all. It's devastating. It's infuriating, and there is still, though this is why I really wanted to cover this case, because there is still things that we can do to get justice for Tanner. And that is what Michele is going to talk about. So I'm going to shut up, Michele. And I am, yeah, I really am. And I want you, before you tell us what happened, tell us a little bit about Tanner.
Okay. Well, of course, everybody's going to say wonderful things about their kid. As always, Tanner was always a sweet kid. He was, to me, the life of the party. He was always so much fun. But he was very brilliant. He was very smart. He was very athletic. He was actually away at Marian University in Indianapolis on a scholarship for football, where he was actually on the dean's list both semesters. While playing football his freshman year, even after he had passed away, his grades were so good that he didn't even have to take his finals, and he still made the dean's list. That's how good his grades were. So yeah, and he broke all of the records for weightlifting, a powerlifter. He was a heavyweight wrestler. Football since he was little. Just an all around good, strong, good kid who. And by the best part about him was he really loved his Jesus. He was he would send out scriptures to kids if they were having a bad day, and yeah, we found his Bible. Anyways,
wow.
He really that he took to college, so it was well used. It was well used.
So, and I know, first of all, I'm going to come for you if you start getting judgmental, okay? In the story. Remember, these are college kids. Think about how you were in college or in high school. So, there is for my part, there is no judgment here. And I don't think, I've got a great crew. I don't think we're going to have a problem with that. But kind of tell us what happened on the last time you saw Tanner.
Okay, the last time we seen him was that Saturday. We thought he was going to go to Purdue University to hang out with his girlfriend. She was going to be a freshman there that following fall, that coming fall. So it was like an orientation, and so he was going to go. That's what we thought. Looking back, we found things out afterwards, but we left, hugged him. He was fine. He was happy. He was ready to go have some fun with his girlfriend, and that's what we knew at that point, until we got the phone call, and the next morning that his friend had said that there had been an accident, and we think that Tanner was dead, and then that was the last time, that was the time we talked to him, and that's what we heard. Then we have to go in between those two and go with the statements, which we know nobody told the truth. We were told that none of the family members were believed. We were told that they formulated a story before detectives got there. Kids lawyered up outside of that home. A veterinarian had actually lawyered up that morning who was there the night before. But yeah, they said that. So that's that part. So then I guess Tanner had gone to the movies instead of going to Purdue. He wanted to be with his a buddy, and he wanted his girlfriend to go have fun without him. He didn't want to be that guy that is following. So we by his phone and the records, he got there to this. He went out to his friends. Somebody had asked him all day if he wanted to come out and hang out with them at his buddy, the Lynn Scoop Salazar home. He went out there around 8. By his phone, he would have arrived by at least 8:45, 9 o'clock, 8:30, because it was like 8:30 when he texted him. He arrived out there. We know at that point, we don't know what happened. They said he wanted to come in and play a shot game, like a beer pong game with cards or something, which I thought was kind of interesting. Why would my son just walk into somebody's house and say, hey, can we play a shot game? Unless he's already played it at that house before. Right. So, I mean, that right there, that's just, that's Psych 101. We're not dumb. That's
right.
You guys are going to add that, like we're stupid. We're not going to catch on that one. So they said that he got bored. His buddy went to bed, and because he had a long, hard day, and he just wanted to go to bed. And he laid in bed and texted his friends while Tanner and his 15-year-old sister went to get donuts at Dan's Donuts at like 12:30ish, 12:40 in the morning, which the mom, they lived so far out in the country that I would never have allowed my 15-year-old, no matter who she was with, to go at 12:40 at night to go get donuts. They lived like in the back country of the county. And so that was like 25 minutes to go in to get donuts, which is absurd. So we know that they kept back. Tanner talked to his girlfriend from 2:10 or 2:07 to 2:10, the one that was at Purdue, said, I love yous. And she said after the fact, I'd spoke with her. She said he sounded fine. He didn't sound like he'd been drinking. And so the gal that was the 15-year-old that was there, Michaela, said, they started drinking at 2:10. Tanner said he didn't want to be sober anymore. 2:11. It was 2:11. He didn't want to be sober anymore. Let's get drunk. So from 2:10 to 3 o'clock, Tanner's BAC was only 0.063. So let's start right there. His BAC was only 0.63, which is like, for Tanner's size, he was 6'3", about 300 pounds, because he was an offensive lineman in college. They're built big.
Yeah, sure.
He was, and you've seen the pictures. He wasn't fat, he was just a big built kid. That's his job on the field. So she said that at 3 o'clock, he just got up off the couch and collapsed, walked to the stairs, turned around and just collapsed on the floor, made a funny sound. So she thought he had passed out, and checked his pulse, and said she went back to sleep on the couch, which, why would you go back to sleep if you were awake this whole time? So, and so her room was in the basement. Her sister's room was in the basement. So why wouldn't you allow Tanner, why would you sleep on the couch next to him? Why wouldn't you get up and go sleep in your room in case he woke up in the middle of the night? Right. So there's been, her story's changed like 2-3 times. So he got up, or she went back to sleep, or was asleep. She woke up the next morning and said, checked him. He was still in the same position. She said she ran upstairs and told her dad that, was it her dad? Yeah, no, her stepdad. Told her stepdad, Jeff, that something happened to Tanner. She thinks he broke his nose. She thinks he broke his nose going up the stairs, which, if you thought he broke his nose, why didn't you say something then when he fell that morning, like that night? Because that's when you have broke. Why wouldn't you have said, oh, wait, I'm going to wait till he dies before I run upstairs and tell parents that we think he fell upstairs and broke his nose? Which we don't believe she was the one who was with him anyways. We believe it was a group of kids, because his girlfriend said when she called there was a bunch of girls, and it sounded like a party, like a bunch of rambunctiousness going on. So it wasn't just her and Tanner having a quiet night, her telling him, So then that was about that. They lied about when the phone call started, because the doctor said that he had gotten a call at 8:30 in the morning. We know we got called at about 8:40. My husband was called around 8:40 that morning by Tanner's friend Tommy, who his dad was the veterinarian that was there. And that guy called anyways, that's a whole story. So we'll just kind of go into that later. But anyways, we got the phone call. I got it. It had to have been before 9 o'clock. It was around 9 o'clock when I got it. 911 wasn't called until 9:24 that morning. So all these phone calls were going around. They had already started calling each other before 911 was called. And they admitted it. I mean, Dr. Todd Cooney admitted that. So that's pretty much that part of the story. And then, there's a lot more in between all that we have found out. So that's the gist of it.
Okay, so I know, and y'all, we do have a lot of documents, and we probably won't get through that many tonight, but we will take a look at some. But I was reading, Michelle, some of the stuff you sent me, the interviews that I believe I read Michele's, and I read 3 of them, I think. And, here's the thing. When I was reading through their testimonies, one of them said, oh, yeah, we were drinking, beer, we were smoking weed. And then another one said, yeah, we had there was some pineapple juice, and what was it? Vodka, rum? What was it?
Rum.
Okay.
But she said there was rum. They mixed rum, and then there was a special pineapple drink. And if you see that, if you see what she says,
it's special.
And there's stuff that was in it, and that's it's known. People put ketamine in pineapple juice to cut the bitterness, because it's like a salty, and that's like a thing that people do. And because he said that Tanner went up and got a beer, then they had another beer. She had a drink of his fruity drink, and then she had a drink of his pineapple juice mixture.
Right.
So what was in the pineapple juice mixture? Why didn't she say the fruity? What? So it's very questionable.
And I'm going to show y'all this. This comes, well, actually, we've got 2 of them. This, you can see this. It shows the blood alcohol level. 0.063. So, I mean, you're looking at that, and, Michele, I'm thinking, all right, if that is his blood alcohol level, then it wasn't, alcohol poisoning.
No.
And so, you're thinking, okay, we know the kids are doing this, that, and the other. They're having a good time. But yet, there is nothing. Well, tell me this. What did the coroner say? Like you get the news. Walk us through this. You get the news about Tanner. There's a lot of different stories, a lot of stuff going on. But officially, what did the coroner and the police say?
Okay, that morning, the coroner came to our house because we were out there. We ran out there. We were out there. I would tell you, when we did arrive there, they were all lined up outside the house, in front of the house. There was crime tape. We were told it was a crime scene. We were told it was a crime scene. And if you look in the first responder notes, the detectives or the deputies, they say, it's a crime scene. We decided to call the detectives in because we feel it was a crime scene. So they knew it was a crime scene. It wasn't just this kid just dropped, and so they knew it was a crime scene from the beginning. So the family was all lined up outside, 10, 15 feet apart, and they were taken to the sheriff's office in separate squad cars. And we were told by the lead detective they did that because they didn't want them colluding and getting their stories together, formulating a story even more so. Because he already told us, the detective told us that they had formulated a story that morning, and they do not believe them. And so they get there, the coroner comes over, he's speaking with our family that afternoon, and he said, that house, we've had a lot of people call that is a known party house. I didn't know. I mean, we didn't know. We didn't know. We just knew that
Sure.
we thought they raised their kids like we raised our kids. I mean, here, this is an upper class, upper middle class home. Like, the family, the home's gorgeous. The kids are all popular. Marcus was, class president, because he was a year younger than Tanner. He was actually in my daughter's class. And, and we just thought that they raised their kids like we, when their kids came over, when Marcus would come over, we didn't allow drinking. We didn't allow all that stuff to go on. So we just figured that's, being naive, I guess. I should have, paid more attention to all that, but I didn't. And, but yeah, they said that was Tanner's death is highly suspicious, and they will continue to investigate. They're not going to close his case. He said the house looked like there had been a party, and he said, Michele, he told our family that's an evil house. There's evil in that house. That's what the coroner told us. So
wow.
Yeah.
What do you think? Like, that's an odd statement. What do you think he kind of meant? Did you have any idea what he meant by that?
I just thought it was a bunch of bad people. I mean, I didn't, at that point, I didn't know. Now looking back, and all the people, I guess there was half the community called the sheriff's department and said, that is a known party house. Those kids take drugs. They all work at the veterinarian clinic. They all have access to the drugs. Yes, because that family were co-owners of one of the veterinarian clinics, and Todd Cooney owns his own vet clinic. So they all worked in the vet clinic. They all they would sweep or clean or, help out on weekends. So all of those kids, everybody in that house had access to veterinarian drugs. Every single one of them.
Okay. All right. Mm-hmm. This picture is becoming more clear. Okay. Mm-hmm. So the coroner, and I read in one of the papers that I've got that he said this was an open investigation. Like, he wasn't closing it out and mm-hmm. ruling anything. No. So, okay. So what happens after that? I know, you have to take care of Tanner, but what was the thing that started sending the alarm bells off past the text and calls that morning?
Okay. So I just kept asking, why was a veterinarian called? Because Tommy is the kid who called us, which is Tanner's very best friend. And his dad was out at that house the night before. And we found out that morning that he had lawyered up. And, he had a past addiction to ketamine. And he lost his license for 7 years to his addiction of ketamine. They found him at his house unresponsive. He had to do drug rehab twice. He'd just gotten his DA license back in August of 2011, and Tanner passed in April of 2012.
Wow.
So he just, and so there's a lot. There's drugs that were missing from the clinic. We got the owner actually is the one who contacted me, and I'm not going to jump forward with that yet. Let me just finish that week.
Okay.
That week, we had a meeting with the coroner, the detective, and the pathologist. And they said in all their years combined, they have never seen a perfectly healthy 19-year-old kid just collapse and die for no reason. And we didn't understand. We're like, white. There's my sister who is a naturopath, a holistic doctor. Mm-hmm. She kept saying, no, there's got to be something in his system. This is like SIDS. 19-year-old kids don't just lay there and die.
Right.
From SIDS. You tell us what's in his system. There's nothing in his system. We don't have anything. So then how can you say he just died from positional asphyxia and his heart was secondary, but they said it wasn't his heart. They said it was not his heart that caused him to die, but whatever caused his positional asphyxiation. Well, we just kept going on, and they wouldn't, from the beginning, we started seeing things starting to cover up, and things started covering up. And so that week, go ahead.
I was just going to back up. Okay, you keep saying positional asphyxiation.
Mm-hmm.
So because I know in that report it talks about emesis, like he had thrown up
Yes.
some, but it wasn't a
Mm-hmm.
matter of he breathed it back in. It was positional.
Yeah, yes, but the coroner, when I met with him, so this, I'll jump ahead about a year later, because I moved to Texas, and before I left, I had a meeting with the coroner, and I didn't understand all this because at this point we didn't have the case file. We didn't have anything. We didn't know any of what. Had I had that in my hand, I would have questioned so much that year before we left. Um, but he's like, Michele, there was signs of an overdose. There were signs of an overdose. I said, I don't understand how, what? He goes, there's emesis. And I said, and I didn't know. He goes, what? I said, what's that? He goes, it's vomit. He
Mm-hmm.
goes, so your son basically vomited. That's why he had emesis in his mouth, his throat, his lungs. He said it was in his lungs, his mouth, throat. He had blood coming out of his nose, blood coming out of his mouth. And the one thing that really shocked us, because I hadn't seen when I did get the crime scene photos, I only wanted to see a few. I didn't look at everything. I didn't want to see anything with Tanner in it. I could see his hand. One was his hand, and the only reason I got that was my daughter gave it to me, and I didn't know she'd gotten into the case file, but she did, and she showed it to me, and I about died. But anyways, you could tell where he had wiped the back of his hand, and there's blood droplets, like he had a bloody nose, and he was wiping his hand.
Oh
And
wow.
so that tells us right there that there was something going on with him before he collapsed. He knew that he was in distress. He was in some sort of medical distress. So I'm going to jump back. The week that Tanner had died, Tommy, Tanner's best friend, who is Todd Cooney, the veterinarian's son, my husband he was so close to us that my husband had him be the pallbearer in that week, and my husband kept saying, do you know anything, Tommy? Do you know? And his one thing that my husband said that really was an odd statement was, he said, just don't worry about it, just let it go, just don't just let it go. And so he's like, what, just let it go? Why? So Tommy knew what went on, and Tommy's no longer with us. So Tommy passed away 2 years ago when it got real hot and heated. I think he killed himself, to be honest. So that's a whole nother story. So
Wow.
so go forward. We kept begging. So I kept asking, I'm like, why was a veterinarian called before me? Why? And I kept saying it. Well, I had somebody reach out to me, and it just so happened to have been Todd Cooney, the veterinarian's former boss. And she's the one who told me everything. And she's like, the addiction, that. She's the one who nursed him back to health when he was at rehab and did all this stuff. So she turned over the drug logs where it showed Carol Cooney was the one who was she was the one who was supervising him when he came out of rehab. And she said you could tell that it doesn't match up. Her signature with the drugs and the amount of drugs that were taken out, and that doesn't match up. So she turned it all over to the police, the prosecutor, and nothing really got done. So that was part of that. I think I answered it. Did I answer it okay?
Yeah, you did. And I mean, for people who don't know, like she said, ketamine is a tranquilizer. It's something that you usually have in an animal hospital. It can be injected, but it can also be in pill form, and it can be crushed, snorted, mixed in a drink. The injectable could be mixed
form
too. Yeah.
It could be liquid form.
Yes, it could. And, but a lot of people back in the day, because, now, Michele, there's so many other drugs that people are using, including the new one we were talking about yesterday, Trank. But back then it was Special K, and a lot of people used it as a date, I can't say the word, drug. Yeah. Because, a lot of people lost their memories. They would get very tired, very sleepy, pass out, and have no idea what happened. So, some people use Special K for recreational, but a lot of times it was used nefariously. And again, this is something, ketamine is not something, I'm trying to think at any medical clinic I've worked at, I don't think we've ever had ketamine. So this would basically be veterinary thing.
Yes, it's a veterinarian drug. It's for large. A lot of it's a lot like large horses, like large animals,
Right.
which he was. And we know that in his vehicle he kept a medical bag because he was on call. So he would always have a bag, and this is what his former boss, had told us, that he always kept that in his vehicle, and which I can't believe that somebody who was addicted to it for 7 years, that the DA would even give this man back his license.
Exactly.
To be able to just take that with him when he needs to go on
right.
runs. But it is a definite, if you're not in a recovery position, you will suffocate, hence positional asphyxiation. We were told that Tanner did suffocate. There were signs of suffocation, which means that that he lay there not able to reposition and just slowly, and I was told he slowly died.
Wow.
It wasn't a sudden. So but that was what the coroner said. It was a botched, it was just, ugh.
Okay, let's go backwards a little bit. I know, because I wanted everybody to understand his, even though we're jumping around, kind of his
story.
what actually happened to him. So now you are, you've taken care of Tanner, and you're trying to get on with life. Okay, when did this veterinary person from the clinic, how long after Tanner's death did she call you?
Oh, his boss, his former boss, right?
Uh-huh.
Yes. That would have been April, May, June, July. So 3 months later, 3 months later.
Okay. Was that the first you had heard, or were you already hearing rumors? Was there something else going on prior, or was that like the big bombshell?
That was a bomb. I had no clue. I didn't know. Tanner never told me. I didn't even know this about his dad. I didn't know anything about Tommy's dad. I didn't know any of this. I had never heard of it until she contacted me, and we sat down at a restaurant, and she told me everything. I mean, as soon as I got off that phone, as soon as I got in the parking lot, I called the lead detective, and I said, "Oh my God, test for ketamine." I said, "Test for ketamine." I said, "I've got his former boss here. You need to test for that ketamine." "Oh, no, Michelle, we're not going to be doing that. We're not going to jump into stuff like that." Yep. Mm-hmm.
Really?
No, yeah, I begged him. I begged him. And I asked him all the time, test for it. And they even came in and they didn't test for it. I said, I'll pay for it. I'll pay for the test. Test for it. Just ease my mind. And the more I just started going down into rabbit holes. I was writing stuff down. I was sending it to them all the time, to the detectives. I said, look, this is what happened to Tanner. I said, there's no other explanation. I said, look at this man's past. Look who was there. He lawyered up. All the kids, everybody is involved at that clinic. We have people that have said that those kids take ketamine and go to the house and use it. And it's because they said that when they use it, it makes your face look like it's melting off or something.
God.
And it's like this crazy, it looks like, that's how they get into these crazy, and here's the thing, Tanner didn't do this stuff. I mean, he may have tried it, they may have given it to him and tried, they may have slipped it into him. The kid he was the one who would always take people, he was always a DUI, like the DD. His teachers would call him, hey, can you come pick us up? And, he didn't drink at our house. He didn't start drinking, my daughter said, until he met the Lynn Scoogs. The summer before he went to college was when he had gone out to their house, and that's when he started drinking, is that summer, because they're bad influences.
Okay, so tell me, we know there were a lot of different kids there, potentially. We don't know who all, in and out that night. Who were the parents? Were the parents there? Or were there any adults?
Well, we don't know, because we know the dad says he was there. But the mom says she was there. But then when we called them that week, we finally got a hold of them. They hung up on us. We called them the next day. We had been trying to get a hold of them, and my sister had called. Oh, my husband called, and he's like, I want to talk to the adults who were there that night. I want to speak to. And she's like, nobody was here last night, and then hung up. They weren't going to talk. So my sister calls back, and she's like, I want to speak to the woman who my brother-in-law just spoke with. I want to speak with her. I want to speak to an adult. And he said, this time Jeff Linskog answered, and he said, there was no woman here just now, and there was no woman here last night. And he goes, here, I'll give the phone to Marcus. That's all they kept doing. Anytime we would call or try to get a hold of somebody, they'd always hand the phone to the kids. Just like the kids are the ones who called 911. Kids are the ones who called us. These parents like hide behind these kids because they're cowards. They know what they've done.
So the parents were there at 9 o'clock, whatever, 9 something in the morning, but it was the kids who called, not the parents that called 911.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, okay. But then they called, but the kids called the mom. Hey, Tanner died. So when you see the phone calls, like Todd Cooney and Carol Linskog, they weren't together. Obviously, they say they weren't, but yet she called him to get Tanner's cell phone number, my cell phone number. But yet he was at home, but yet they both show up at the same time at the house together. Now, how's that if you're not together?
Yeah, that's very sus.
Yeah, there's a lot.
So after you have the conversation with Carol, who tells you everything that's been going on in the clinic and about these kids and whatever, what happens next?
Okay, that wasn't Carol. That Carol is the mother of the.
Oh, okay.
And that's okay. It's so confusing, and there's so much. So Carol is the mother, but I don't want to give this woman's name. I'm just going to say the former boss of the clinic.
That's
because
fine.
He's scared to death of them. He stalks her. And I don't know if he still stalks her, but he was stalking her.
Wow.
Yeah. So she's really scared of him. So I kind of try to protect her. I don't want to say her name just in case.
Oh, that's fine. Yeah, no, that's fine. Yeah. After I was just trying to find, somebody to get a timeline. So after you talk to her, then what happens next?
After that, we just start trying to put everything. Well, can I go back? Because we forgot a very important part.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay, let's go back to that morning when Jeff Linskog, the dad, when they find Tanner, the dad takes a picture of Tanner.
Right.
Takes a picture of Tanner on the floor with his foot on the step. And he goes, he sees Tanner there. He says he has the dog gate at the top of the stair, at the bottom of the stairs. Well, the dog gate's at the top of the stairs. It's mentioned in the coroner report. They keep the dog gate at the top so the dog doesn't go down. Well, if you go down, it's 4 right steps, a landing, and then you make a right, an immediate, and it's enclosed, so you can't see. So he would have had to have gone all the way down to the stairs and to get a picture of Tanner. So he seen Tanner, and in an odd, funny position. Okay, if somebody's in an odd, funny position with a foot on the step, are you not gonna run down and make sure they're okay? No, Jeff Linskog decides that he's gonna go and take a picture, run upstairs, get his work phone. He got his work phone, ran down, took a picture, and then ran upstairs and then emailed it to his wife Carol, to her work email. Now, why wouldn't you just text it? Hey, look, it's a funny picture. But then all the trouble of getting his work phone, emailing that. And so there was 3 pictures taken that morning, and they said that Tanner was in an odd position, to where he was not in a recovery position that caused him to suffocate. So then we'll bounce back up to after that. I just kept begging them to do something in Tanner's case, and they would never do it. I hit brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, and then I started doing marches, and nothing really happened. I mean, that's just until 2018 when, then that's when they closed his case.
So what made okay, but in the meantime, in case y'all don't know, okay, let me go back to the picture too, because I read in some of the interviews where they said, oh, well, Tanner sometimes fell asleep just, sometimes as kids do. I mean, my kids have done it. When you just drop, you're sleeping funny, you just drop on the floor wherever you are. You think about your little kids, how they'll be running around, all of a sudden they just drop somewhere. So they said that when he was, drinking, partying, whatever, that he would drop, allegedly that he would drop, and sometimes it was a funny position. And so that was the reason that they, we're taking the pictures. But yeah, the email doesn't make any sense, because if I think I'm taking a funny picture, I'm gonna just text it to somebody. Why would you attach it from your work email?
Yes. And yeah. So, and about Tanner sleeping, Tanner doesn't sleep on the floor. Tanner would, when I tell you, my kid would push me off the couch so he could be comfortable. His friends would come over. He wouldn't give up his bed. There were kids that would sleep on the floor around the bed, not Tanner. He had to be comfortable. So when they said that he would just lay anywhere, no, that I'm not. When I tell you, I know my child. Mm-hmm. He would fight anybody off. So why didn't he just sleep on the couch? And why didn't she go sleep in her bed? To do that, because it was a known party house. These kids, if he's gonna drop and lay anywhere, it's because he's drunk and passed out.
Yeah. Okay, so you said they closed the case in 2018.
Mm-hmm.
All right, but in the meantime, you thank you, Jinx. In the meantime, you have gotten a hold of and have been on the Dr. Oz show. So how did that come about?
Okay, so I started working with, and I'm going to tell you, I am not promoting these people whatsoever. They are the worst of the worst. That's all I'm going to say. The worst people to ever. They should they should never be working with families.
Thank you, honeybee.
So I started working with a cold case group. And a lot of you'll know, because she's part of CrimeCon, a huge personality at CrimeCon. And I started working with her, and I went on Nancy Grace. That's how I got on Nancy Grace. I was on Nancy Grace 1.
Wow.
And we were working on Nancy Grace the second time.
Thank you, Mother of Dragons.
Then I went on the Doctor. No, you're fine. Then I went on the Doctor. I was going on Dr. Oz show, but in between there, we had Tanner's phone, and I was not going to give my son's phone up. I did not trust Howard County at this point. So I asked this cold case group if she knew anybody that could do a phone extraction, because I didn't trust Howard County, and I wanted to see my son's last text that night. Well, it just so happened, she goes, yes, I know Dr. Oz's criminologist. She can do it. So that's what they did. They started the process of getting Tanner's phone to the Dr. Oz's criminologist. At this part, I didn't know it was like Dr. Oz's criminologist. I just knew she was a criminologist that was on his show. And I didn't realize I was going to be on the show. So about in January, I get this call from her, and she's like, hey, it's so-and-so. I want you to be on the Dr. Oz show. Blah, blah. I'm like, oh my God, okay. Well, so I'm like, okay, so let's do this. So in the meantime, she had gotten Tanner's phone records back, and that's a whole nother story in itself right there. But so we were going on Dr. Oz. We went on Dr. Oz. They even said that definitely there needs to be more testing. There needs to be more testing. There is something wrong with these toxicology reports. This can't be. It doesn't match up. So we got back another podcaster who, Minds of Madness. I mean, a lot of you all, I don't know if in the podcast world, it's Minds of Madness. She did a huge deep dive. She was the first person to ever, she's the one who showed me all this stuff. I didn't know about all this stuff that she was finding in Tanner's case file. So I got to her. She went on a national Canadian show and talked about Tanner's case. And it was like Good Morning America. But it's Good Morning Canada. Yeah, so it's Good Morning Canada. So that was their version, and we were like so excited. So she had mentioned that Tanner's cell phone was getting looked at by the police. Well, the next day, 2 days later, I get the call from from the cold case group and Dr. Oz people saying, we don't work this way. We don't go on interviews without each other. Blah blah blah. So they dropped Tanner's case. They dropped it off of. That's why you got a recording of the show, because she went and made sure, the criminologist made sure that it was dropped from Dr. Oz's programming. So then they started working with the sheriff's department, which we had recorded phone conversations, and that's another series or another episode we'll have to go into. But we had Tanner's. We found out that they were colluding with the detectives and said that Tanner had died from Adderall because he had taken Adderall 3 days prior to his death. And that's what caused him to die, and that's what they were sticking with. So they gave that to the sheriff's department. And because the sheriff's department was being outed so badly, they were like, oh, hey, we got somebody else that hates Michele just as much as we do. So let's get together and let's make sure we close Tanner's case. And that's what they did. And that's how Tanner's, and I called it the Hail Mary, because out of the blue, once I went on Nancy Grace, that's when the detectives started emailing me, asking. I'm like, you should know this stuff. You should know all this stuff. You're the detective. Why am I telling you this stuff? You're the detective. You figure it out.
Yeah.
And so that's when I knew something was up, because it was like, I get emails at 9:00. Hey, Hey, Michele, butt up this. No, figure it out. I've given you everything. Go back through the emails. Because I knew something was happening. Something was not right. And then it was right before right after Tanner's 6-year anniversary, death anniversary, and the day of his, that we buried him, his funeral, they closed his case and sent us and they wouldn't talk to us. They wouldn't meet with us. We said, no, we want to meet with you. No, that's not going to help any. The Sheriff Rogers, it's not going to help anything. We're not going to speak. So why wouldn't you speak to the family and explain to them how this is possible that you're closing a case on Adderall when there's no proof that there's no Adderall in his system? There's no pictures of him. Well, he said that his girlfriend said that his girlfriend said he had taken some 3 days prior. Well, did you have a picture of him taking it? Do you have this of him taking it? Do you have it in his toxicology? It's not in his toxicology.
I was just going to say, while we're talking about this, because let's look, and my screen is tiny, y'all. I'm going to try to make this a little bit bigger. Okay, amphetamines, negative.
Yep.
Barbiturates, I can't even read the next one because it's so small. But cannabis, so there was no cannabis. All right.
But he was positive for marijuana in the AIT lab.
Okay, so we've got, now this is a different, this is, so let's go back to this one. Which report is, well, if I can get it to come up here. All right, let's go back to this one, because this one says, I can read it on my TV better. Let's see, this one it says live, so this is maybe one of the first ones, Howard Regional Health Systems Lab.
Yes.
So, all right. So, was this the first lab that was doing this?
No, the very first one where it just showed the alcohol testing was the very first one.
Okay,
let's go. The day of Tanner's death.
So, didn't they test for anything else? Were they just testing for alcohol?
No, just that's all. That's all it shows. So, I guess that's all they tested for. And then the next one is, it just shows alcohol, which this one is a urine sample, which they could not retrieve urine from Tanner. It's in the coroner notes.
I did say that. But now, okay, which one was the urine? Would that have been on that first one we were looking at?
No, this one right here that you're looking at right here. This was taken during autopsy, which if it's taken during autopsy, cannabinoids would have been positive because it came out of autopsy. It is urine. If you're going to test his urine and you said that he smoked tons and tons of marijuana and the AIT lab shows that he tested positive, then why is this one negative? So this, we believe, is a planted document. We believe this was planted to make it appear as nothing was in his system.
Because I'm looking at, there's no amphetamines, barbiturates, benzodiazepines. That's what I couldn't see on here. But the benzos, I mean, that would be something that could potentially make you loopy, bring everything down. But that was, of course, negative, and they tested for cocaine, opiates. Of course, that has the same
Mm-hmm.
effect. Methadone. All right. So then let's look at this next one.
Yes. And here it says positive for marijuana and negative for alcohol. And this is the Axis AIC. This is the forensic lab. This is what the coroner said he sent Tanner's samples to. So if you notice, so you've got one that says positive for alcohol, one that says negative for alcohol. You have one that says negative or positive for marijuana, one that shows negative for marijuana, one that they, yeah. So,
is this the same body that they're testing? Because honestly, you have to wonder. It looks like two different people. This makes no sense.
And that's what the Axis AIT. So this Axis forensic lab right here, we spoke with the lead toxicologist, and he said if Tanner's blood alcohol was 0.063, as stated by the lab in Kokomo, then it would have shown positive on that lab right there.
Right.
On that lab sample, it would have shown positive for marijuana or positive for alcohol, and it would, and they said, but it didn't. So they said those could not have been Tanner's samples that were sent to the lab.
So whose samples were they?
I would love to know. I would absolutely love to know. And the stimulants, they're positive for stimulants. I'm like, what the hey?
Yeah, but it says caffeine. That's it. I mean, I'd be so positive for caffeine, it would be ridiculous.
I know. And it's so funny. So I'm wondering if somebody thought, you know what, let's just put positive for caffeine, because that would make it look like it's Adderall. But see, that because, that would be a stimulant.
Yeah.
Is my guess. But the dumb butts didn't realize that it would have to have said methamphetamines for it to be Adderall.
It would, well, yeah, it would have at least said, it would have at least said amphetamines.
Yes.
Meth is a test all by itself, but, it would have, the amphetamines would have definitely been positive. Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm looking at this next one, and I know I'm a little bit off screen, but I'm looking on the TV because my screen is huge on there. All right, and it says no anatomic findings are detected at the time of autopsy to explain a sudden collapse and the demise.
Yep.
So there you go. Toxicology studies are not helpful in pinpointing an exact cause of death. Mm-hmm. Okay, so this is where I was reading it too. Emesis, that's, like you said, is vomit, was also detected by the EMS personnel, and this also could have caused partial obstruction of the airway. Yeah, that's what I was. But he couldn't have coughed it up or moved because he couldn't move. Yeah,
he was already in a position of not being able to move himself.
Right. Okay, and so they found some swelling in the lower lobe of the lungs. That's consistent with asphyxia. And the large size of the heart would have also made the myocardium more susceptible to an arrhythmia secondary to hypoxic ischemia. Okay, so basically, So basically, his heart was enlarged, but that was due to
the stress
asphyxiation, which made him go into arrhythmia, which made his heart enlarge. Okay, does that make sense? His heart didn't enlarge first; it was due to asphyxia. So that's what this is. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay. So now, are you comfortable saying the names of the players? And I don't want you to do anything that you're not comfortable with at all.
No, I'm fine.
Who were the investigators that the sheriff? Who are these? What are the names of these people that have shut you down?
Yeah. Okay. So Sheriff Rogers was the sheriff at the time. The first initial detective was Detective Ernie Shirey. Then there is the coroner is it was Jay Price at the time. The pathologist was Bruce Hughes, and then you have now it's Detective Greg Hargrove. He was he was the head of the anyways, he was of what I want to say. Anyways, he was at the what I want to say. Anyways, he was in charge of it all.
Okay.
And so then, he was in charge. Sorry, I could not think. It's not like clicking right there. He was not. It's late. I tell you.
It's okay. I get that way too.
Anyway, so he was in charge of it all, and so those were the main players, and then you have the that's pretty much it. Those are the ones who botched it. I mean, literally, I don't even say botched it. He admitted to being biased. Detective Hargrove admitted to being, yes, we have recorded. Okay, so going back to him colluding with the national media to have Tanner's case closed that week of his 6-year anniversary, we have recorded phone conversations between the cold case group and Dr. Oz's criminologist and them colluding with him, and he admitting to being biased in Tanner's case. And he was going to act like he was for the family, pretend that, he was with us and for us, but really underneath, it was going to be biased.
Yeah.
Yeah. He admitted it. And he even, he had his notes after the Dr. Oz show. Dr. Todd Cooney called him and they were talking about it and calling me crazy. And that's when he said, yeah, Tanner's just some fat kid. He had notes. What a joke. He's no football player, just some fat kid. I'm like, oh my God. So we made sure we got a hold of the detective. This was just last year. We didn't know about these phone calls and conversations. We had like 400 and some phone conversations between detectives and this family member, and so much we had. And I'm going to say had because I got duped again, but that's another story too. But we had, and I listened to them, and they were like, you could tell it was all because I went on national media and exposed them. And yeah,
imagine that corruption in Indiana,
right? And then they're going to close the case. Yeah, and then they're going to close Tanner's case because they got butthurt, and And then you got the national media who didn't get the second, because I didn't know there was going to be a part 2 of Dr. Oz show, and it was going to be about Tanner's cell phone. And so see, money, we lost money. It's all about to these people, it's all about money to them. And for them to do what they did was absolutely, we have emails back and forth between Dr. Oz's criminologist and the detective, and her telling him what he needs to put in the press release. You make sure you give us credit. You give us this. I want it to say this. Michele Barton is crazy. Michele Barton this. She had a laundry list of stuff because she was going to attack me, and it did. It was, oh my God, it was a massacre. Oh, wow. I literally had a break. It wasn't just because they closed Tanner's case. It was like I was the most hated person in Kokomo, in the media, and everything. They just went crazy on me.
Wow.
So that's why the Dr. Oz show did open, but it was what killed Tanner's case. And yeah, so now we're fighting to get it reopened.
Okay, I'm going to take a question.
Okay.
Support what Steffa says. Wouldn't the tox report be much longer with metabolites since his death was suspicious? Now, did you ever see, because this is what she gave me, Steffa, what have you seen? Is there more to this toxicology? Because to me, when I look at this looks like a simple drug screen.
Nope, that is what we were given, and we asked them. They said we've had other people look at Tanner's case file who are actual death investigators, and they said this looks like just like the autopsy, the toxicology report is just basic, and like his autopsy, they said it was just like somebody died in a nursing home of natural causes, so they just did the bare minimum, and they said because it was suspicious, and I kept telling them, no, you've got to specifically test for this drug, this drug, this drug. Do spice, do ketamine, do xylazine. Check those drugs. And I kept asking them. They said, oh, we're not going to entertain that idea. We're just not going to entertain that idea, Michele. And I did, and I tried, and I did, and Nope, that's it. What you see.
Okay, well, that answers that question. And I know at one point when I was reading over this and some of the paperwork that was sent to me a few days ago, they said they couldn't get urine. Okay, I call BS on that because first of all, even if he had obviously hadn't just went to the bathroom when he passed away, but secondly, even if he had, there is always residual urine. Some. It might not be a lot, but you've always got residual urine in your bladder. And the fact that they're saying, oh, there's no urine, there's never no urine. There's always urine of some kind. If you drop something.
And then why didn't they send that? Because that's what the lead toxicologist said. First off, why did they test the blood that day in their personal lab? And then secondly, why wasn't the urine, if there was supposed to be urine and they said they had urine, why was it not sent with the blood, the vitreous, and why wasn't the urine included? Why was that tested during autopsy and it wasn't listed in any of the documents? Nothing. Why wouldn't the pathologist and the coroner, both of them, why weren't those mentioned in their notes?
I wonder because the different tox reports that contradict each other. It makes me wonder if they didn't send the urine because they literally sent somebody else's blood.
Because they knew it wouldn't match.
Right.
And that's why. But if you see the urine, it shows negative for marijuana. Well, he had witnesses that came forward and said Tanner smoked tons and tons and tons of marijuana the night he died. Well, if he smoked that much, then why didn't it show up in your urine sample out of autopsy first? And why does it show negative in the AIT lab, which is your forensic lab, that you said that, you trust your lab. You trust those labs, Michele. I trust them. We don't need to question anything else about this. I trust the labs. Okay. Well, then I didn't know that about all this. And it wasn't until 4 years later when I finally got the two and a half years when I got the case file. And the only reason I got the case file is because we tried to sue them for wrongful death. And of course, now here we go again. We got more corruption, and that's the wrongful death attorneys. They said, well, we couldn't. There's nothing we can do. There was nothing in those toxicology. Well, how did you not see that they're conflicting?
Right.
And I said, I didn't know all this to tell them this until now. And then I see who the county attorney is, and then that's his, Dr. Todd Cooney's attorney was the county attorney, and now the other county attorney, they're in practice together. So it's all this weaving and connecting of individuals, and that's how we got Tanner's case file, because I contacted somebody who I told him I'd never say who it was, but they told me by law, anything, if you have a case and any of those documents that attorney has, anything that they have in their possession is yours. Contact them, Michele. Get those case files before they destroy them. And I did, and by law, they know that they had. So that's how I was able to get Tanner's case file, because they closed that wrongful death suit that we had.
Okay, and I know when we were talking one time, I guess it was yesterday, there was something about blood samples that had been destroyed or thrown out or something, but before the case was closed?
Yes, a year. We went all this time begging them, and they never once told us that they destroyed all the samples. They say they did. Now, whether they did or not, I don't know. But they told us, and I didn't find this out till 2017, 18, that they had destroyed Tanner samples in 2013, a year later. And I said, wait, this is a highly suspicious open investigation. And you destroy the samples.
Yeah.
After I've been begging you.
I mean, that's illegal, right?
Yeah. And I told him, I said, give me the chain of command. I want the chain of command as to who gave the orders to destroy my son's case or my son's samples. I want that. He would dance around it constantly. Every time I would email it, he would dance around. He wouldn't answer me for months. Then finally he would answer. And I'm like, that's not what I asked you. I want to see the chain of command. You've got to provide that to me. And he wouldn't. He never did. And all these years they could have told me, Michele, we destroyed those samples. We no longer have them. And now were they lying to me? Oh, they could be. They very well could be. But of course they're going to destroy them, because now they know that these aren't his samples. These can't be his samples. She's on to us. We need to get rid of this.
Yeah. Wow. I mean, I look at this and I say the audacity, the sheer audacity, of people to, I mean, I really never heard of that. Even on cold cases and stuff, like they keep stuff, even on some closed cases for years,
yes.
They keep stuff, so how are they destroying? Okay. So, all right. What can we, and there's so much to this, so much I want to get into, all these phone calls and all the connections. And I know y'all people out there, you love to dig and you love to find out who's who. There's a reason. There's a big reason that they covered this up. Now, did they cover it up just because, I'm just me looking at this case fresh, I'm thinking, the veterinarian, all the kids, they came from, like you said, families that of some, note, important people. So all these kids working in the veterinary clinic, they're doing ketamine. I don't think, and it doesn't sound like you think this either, Michele, that it was done nefariously, like on purpose.
No, but when you start reading, and I didn't really pay attention, but it was like, I remember the detective saying, and he was questioning, goes, did Tanner and any of those kids ever like not get along? Did they ever like fight? Was there a fight going on? Because he called it an accident. He goes, before Tanner's accident, what was he doing? Why would the detective call Tanner's collapse an accident before his accident? And why was my son bleeding? And it wasn't just a little bit of blood. There was enough there that it was concerning to the detectives and stuff. So why was there a fight? Did they slip it to him because they were mad at him? I mean, we don't know. I don't believe they murdered him. I believe it's foul play. I don't believe that, they would purposely like I want to kill Tanner. I don't believe that, but I do believe it's foul play, most definitely. And I've been told that by several death investigators that this is definitely, it's foul play. Yeah. Because they've seen the autopsy photos and all that, and seen the crime scene photos of Tanner on the floor, and they said it's most definitely a foul play. That's why they said it was a crime scene from the beginning. And they taped it off. That's why they told us this, and that's why they called the detectives in. This is a crime scene.
I don't understand how you can get from a crime scene to saying, "Oopsie, we made a mistake."
To 3 different toxicology samples that are to the samples not matching up, and then closing it for. Just so much. It's just so, and those people are so connected to the people in the community, and there's just a lot of connected people, and they weave in and out with each other. A lot of covering up for them.
Yeah, it sounds like it. So, is there any way, any law, anything that we can do to get this case reopened?
We went to the Indiana State Police. And because there was that new law, and
what is the new law?
It's the SCA 177, and it's you can request for the Indiana State Police to look over the case files and possibly reopen. Well, what we have found out that they're not reopening any cases. They're just saying, no. I mean, it's obvious. I mean, Tanner's is like, I don't know, but these are obvious. like homicides. Like you can't deny this was a homicide, and they're not even opening those because they don't want to be. Because once again, they don't want. This is the Indiana State Police. This is what's his name, the top guy.
I know who you're talking about. Yeah.
Him. Yeah. And they're not opening them because they don't want, you're not going to tell us what to do. We didn't want this law in the first place. So don't be telling us what to do. So, and I do believe the person who, I'm blessed that this person did take that time to make up Tanner's binder. It could have been done better. And it could have been done in a more factual. There was just too much of a misleading. I think they wanted to be able to figure it out themselves, not have us like tell them what we think happened. So, but I can redo that. I had the phone calls. I'm going to get those phone calls back. I'm working on that. I'm trying to get a lot of the case file back from Howard County. But yeah, so we did that and they denied it. They told us, but you know, we're like, no, that you can't tell us. You tell us what toxicology did you use to say that you're going to close Tanner's case? You tell us which toxicology that you all used. And they said, well, we trust your coroner, the pathologist, which is, I can't think of his name. Anyways, he's like out of Indianapolis, and it's the one that ISP uses all the time, and agencies bring him in to go over cases, like secondary questioning of cases, and they believed him. They believe it was. He said Tanner had a short neck and an enlarged heart, so that's what killed him. I'm like, okay, hang on first.
Even with the tox reports, you know, conflicting with each other. Clearly. Thank you, Pug.
Then I'm like, short neck. Okay, show me in the autopsy that you measured my son's neck. For one, his neck short because he's a football player, and when they build this neck up for support. I mean, he's attacking these huge men on the football field. So his neck it's big because it's full because it's muscle. It's not short. I mean, before he went to college, he had a normal neck. When he came out of college, it was like big because they build that neck up in their practices. I mean, it's a job for them. So I'm like, okay, so regardless of all that, how did a short neck cause my son to not reposition himself? Please tell me that. Please tell me how that's possible. And they wouldn't. Because
even at their own brief tox reports, their brief scan, there is no explanation. His blood alcohol, there was nothing, according to them, there was nothing in his system that could cause him to pass out or whatever, and he didn't clearly have a heart problem. So you want to say, well, you know, he was drinking whatever, he passed out, blah, blah, blah. It was an accident, he vomited, it was asphyxia. I get all that. But then you're going to turn around and tell us that his tox was almost just perfectly clean. There was, you know, that, I mean, it's like Ricky Ricardo says, Lucy, you have some splaining to do, you know, because that does not make sense. ISP, you know, Kokomo, whatever, you got some splaining to do.
Yes.
Because
and I like what she just says. ISP will want it reopened if it has a spotlight on the case. We know that from Delphi. Well, let's get a spotlight. Let's get a spotlight. Let's just spotlight the heck out of this case because it needs reopened. And that is, just changes cause of death. Because once we get the cause of death changed, then that's going to have to reopen his case. And that's what I want. Just reopen it, because that will give, if anybody is going to come in and say, hey, this happened to Tanner, then they have to take that tip in. Right now, they could just deflect anything that comes in because, hey, it's a closed case. We're not worrying about the Tanner Barton case. And I don't want it in Howard County's hands. I want it completely out of there. And that's why I wanted it in ISP.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, and that would be better. But, you know, I have to look at even Delphi and the case, and I know they've got Richard Allen in custody, but, you know, it was a long time coming. I don't know whether he's guilty. My personal opinion, I don't think he's the only one involved, but that's just me. But, you know, they kept it from, other people from coming in and helping. And if you look at the Long Island serial killer case that just broke this week, same thing. And I mean, there was corruption, there was, stalling, there was people covering up for their own crimes. And so that case didn't even get a break until they brought other people and made a joint task force. And then that was in January of 22. By February, they had already determined Hewerman as a suspect. Okay, so it took another year to arrest him. But see, that's the power of what people can do. When you get it out of the hands of these, podunk police officers who owe favors to the judges and the lawyers and all this crap, and you get out of the favor zone, then you can get to the truth.
Yes. And right now, all of Howard County is lawyered up. The DA, the prosecutor, we don't have a DA. We have like a county attorney who's in charge of, he's called the county attorney because it's not a big enough, which I think is odd. Why wouldn't we? Kokomo's pretty big, but 60-some thousand, and we don't have a county attorney, or a prosecutor or DA. But he has lawyered up everybody. Nobody's allowed to talk to us. We even talked to a commissioner, and he said, "I'm not supposed to talk to you." So he's lawyered up all of Kokomo. The coroner's not allowed to talk to us. The prosecutor's not allowed to talk to us. The detectives are not allowed to talk to us. Nobody's allowed to talk to us. Commissioners, anybody we talk to, they have been shut up. They have been told to not speak to us about Tanner's case. Now, why? Why? What? Because I'm telling you, the county attorney is involved because his buddy is this is all in my opinion, and I guarantee I'm right on this. The doctor who was there that day and lawyered up, his attorney was the county attorney, and now the new county attorney had come in, Alan Wilson. Those two are now law partners as well. They've been law partners. And this man is the Howard County Sheriff's Department. Alan Wilson is county attorney. He represents Howard County Sheriff's Department. Now that's a conflict of interest right there, because then you've got the guy who is who lawyered up the morning suspiciously, and then you've got this attorney, and they're law partners. Okay, and they're gonna no. That's conflict of interest.
Yeah. Well, you see a lot of that over in that area of the country. We've seen tons of it with Delphi. I wanted to say, I keep this up here, a strongly worded letter. Thank you very much, by the way. Michelle and Silky, you will have to read the chat later. So many people putting the pieces together with ease. Okay, it is really... That's awesome, because look, here's the thing. I try to read the chat, I try to highlight stuff and look what you're saying, but I'm also trying to focus on this case, so it's really, really difficult. So yes, I always, we will go back and read the chat. That's awesome.
I definitely will, and tell everybody, please come join Tanner's voice page, please. There's a lot of information on there. There's a lot. Just scroll on down. You'll see so many things I put out. I've kind of backed off a little bit just because I've just been so discouraged. And I'm trying to get back into it. I've been, going through a lot with this stuff. So trying to get back to it. So hopefully we just get a jump start.
Yeah, absolutely. And on my original video that everybody had the other link for, sorry about that. I don't know what happened with YouTube, but I'm going to go back and put it. If that description is still up, you can get the link, but I have to redo the editing on the thumbnail and stuff and all the description for this one. But I will put that Facebook link back up there. So, join her group. And let me ask you this, Michelle, do you have links to like any paperwork or any of the case file, anything like that on there, or the Dr. Oz show? I'm not that good at the there's at the top you'll see I think they're pinned. Now it's different now. So anyways, at the top you'll see some pinned things. The autopsies are in there.
the toxicology reports are in there. No, I don't have I do, but it's not for that. I was setting up a zip file. Actually, a death investigator was putting everything in together for me when, anyways, you just got to go on the page and kind of scroll down.
Okay. Okay, but that's good. What is the name of the Facebook group?
It's Tanner's Voice, and it's Tanner's without an apostrophe. And I made that years ago, and now I look back and I want to put the apostrophe in it, but I don't want to change anything on Tanner's. I don't want it to mess up his, the search of anything, and so it's just Tanner's without an apostrophe S, and it's just Tanner's Voice.
Okay. Here's a message from you from Indy Pam. Can you see that, Detective? Yeah. He's local to North Indiana and may be able to help. Have you talked to him before?
No. Tim, is he in Fort Wayne? Is he out of Fort Wayne? I talked to somebody. Is he ISP Fort Wayne area?
Let's see. Also, Jinx wants to know, do you use Discord? Yeah, and I have a Discord. Do you use Discord?
I don't even know what that is.
It's a little bit difficult. It's great. I love it, but let's see. What? Here, Mother of Dragons says, I'm waiting to see if Indy Pam heard what you asked. The connection. Okay, Mother of Dragons says that commissioner runs again and wants your support. Tell him I can't talk to you. Yeah, I know the corruption is insane. Oh my gosh, it's yeah,
it's bad. It's bad.
Yeah. So I mean, well, like I said, we all know that. We all know that from Delphi. So yeah, I'll be interested to go back. All right. Maybe I'll get it. Maybe she'll answer if she heard that. All right. So you've got the Facebook group. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Putting the spotlight, hopefully the more creators or the more people that put this out there and start asking questions, here, Kokomo is I don't know in my head. It's like the circle in the drain, as far as the groups of people, you have so many factions of corruption, from the higher, and I don't mean higher, but I guess maybe by society standards, the higher, the judges, the lawyers, whatever, the boys club, we've all heard of the boys club.
And it is true in Kokomo. It is true. I have learned. I have seen. I know what they do. I know the stuff that's been done to me because thank God I got those. I was able to listen to those phone conversations between Dr. Todd Cooney and the detectives. Yeah. Oh, there were things that were plotted out and planned against me. I found a lot of stuff, and
wow.
The corruption is awful. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The sheriff was right on in there with him. There were meetings between the sheriff, Rogers, Dr. Todd Cooney, and Detective Ernie Shirey. And I know that because there was a protective order put against me when I did my first march. And he was able to get, Dr. Todd Cooney was able to get a protective order against me, saying I was stalking him. And and when I was served, there was no court date. And I have an affidavit from the sheriff, the deputy, and guess who asked this deputy to do a favor for him? Sheriff Rogers. Said, here, would you take these papers and serve Michele Barton? And this is the same detective or the same sheriff that talked to Todd Cooney, and the sheriff, because the detective was like, oh, we just need to get not a no contact. He didn't call it anyways, it's a protective order, but he called it something different. And he said, we're going to get one of those. We're going to talk to him about that. He goes, boy, I would. This was just months before the March for Justice, my very first one I ever did. And that's when I created Tanner's Voice. And we have an affidavit from the detective or the deputy who served me that day. We have footage of him saying there is no court date, because we kept asking him, there's got to be a court date. Nope, there's no court date. You just go on home. It's a 10-day PO against you, just temporary. Go home. I have an affidavit. I get back home in Texas, and I have a protective. I've got a 2-year PO against me.
Wow.
And I went to the courthouse, and I said, and I knew the clerk, and I said, I need everything you have on this cause number. I need it. I want it. I need it because I'm going back home, and I want to make sure there's nothing here, because I don't want to get home and find out that I've got a court date or I missed anything. He goes, nope, here it is. He handed me the same 3 papers that I was served that day at a friend's house. Okay, I'm fine. So I went home, and I get home, and on October 31st, in the mail was a not a certified letter, none of that. I wasn't served by. I was never served. I was never served at my home in Texas. Never. And I never was. They said the letters just kept getting circled every which way. No, if you're going to serve somebody, you serve them a protective order. Yeah. And I called, and I have a protective order. Oh my God. So I called every precinct in my area, and they said, there is no Michele Barton in the system. They had to have faxed it, and that's the only way we take it, Miss Barton. And I'm like, okay, well, I don't have one. But then you don't have a protective order against you. There's nothing here. And it would have to go. And Sheriff Rogers said, oh, it goes state. It crosses the border, so it would be effective in Texas as well. So I'm like, okay, well, it wasn't. So whatever Sheriff Rogers pulled out, whatever Sheriff Rogers did, this guy was able to get a 2-year. So when I went back to court, oh no, I remember and he went without an attorney. He went without an attorney. Who goes to court without an attorney unless you already know that you're going to win your case? Because right. remember who his attorney was, and his attorney at the time was the county attorney. So everybody was shut up, and so I had a 2-year PO, and it's still on my record. I've got to get that, but yeah. And I did nothing. I sent him a couple of texts that said, what happened to my son? What happened to my son? And if he didn't like it, Detective Hargrove was the one who told me to do it. He said, just message him. Just message him. Now, if he tells you to stop, then you stop. But he goes, but don't tell anybody I told you to do this, because if they find out, then it means that you and I are working together, and we can't be working together in something like this. But you can go ahead and you can message him if you want. Just don't threaten him. And if he stops, and so I did, and it was like 5. I think I had 5 or 6. I saved them all. I have it all. And so he was able. And when I went back to court to get my attorney to have it taken off of me, I didn't win. That's how bad it is. That's how bad it's been for me here. Yeah.
I think 2 years is a little bit of overkill. Yeah. I mean, a protection order, and I had a friend who had to have a protection order against her husband. This has probably been like 3 or 4 years ago. Mm-hmm. And it only lasted, I can't even remember if it was 30 days, 60 days, something like that, until court. Mm-hmm. That's it. Yeah. Just until court. Yeah. And then, but you had to go to court, to go before the judge to do that. And I'm like, 2 years, like, I don't understand. What did you do, Michele? What did you do so bad?
Exactly. Nothing. But see, remember the phone call. That was when the Nancy Grace stuff was going. That was not Nancy Grace. That was when I was on the news calling them out, and they knew that they were getting ready to get busted. That's when I was on the newspapers. Yeah, so they knew. Sorry, they knew. Nothing. I have all the documentation. I saved it all. And he said that she rejected the letter. That's why she never got. I didn't even get a letter. There was nothing ever served. I have proof from the precincts here. I contacted everybody, and so that's the kind of stuff he was able to do. And this is the man who lawyered up the morning Tanner died. This is the man who was able to do that. So, but see, he was colluding with the sheriff's department. He knew.
Yeah.
Sheriff Rogers was in on it.
Because, I mean, as an adult, I might, if someone passed away in my house, even if I thought it was an accident, I might consult an attorney because you never know, you know. But to already have a plan in place and to carry this collusion on, you know, obviously,
But he wasn't even, here's the thing, that wasn't even his house. So, you know what I mean?
Oh, it wasn't. Oh, that's right.
No. He was just visiting the night before, and then the next morning he lawyered up, and so they wouldn't talk to him. Yeah, the prosecutor told us all that, and he's the one who said that there was kids whose parents lawyered them up who weren't even at that house that night that we know of. We don't know those, but remember there was sound like a bunch of girls there, sound like a party and a bunch of rambunctiousness, and then all of a sudden they go, we can't talk to these kids because their parents lawyered them up.
Yeah.
So there was a group of kids they were going to question.
Now, according to those papers that I read, what did they say? Wasn't it around, what time was it that they said Tanner fell to the bottom of the stairs?
A little after 3.
That's what I was thinking in my head, but I couldn't remember. Okay, but his girlfriend talked to him after 2.
Yeah, so from 2:05 or 2:07 to 2:11 a.m.
Okay, so she talked to him, and she didn't notice any slur in his voice. He wasn't acting funny. Nope. He wasn't acting high. He was just talking like his normal stuff. Yeah. So in 1 hour,
50
without,
minutes. 45 minutes.
Yeah. So, okay, so 50 minutes, 45 minutes later, he has had enough stuff in his system to be that blacked out, fall, and pass away, throw up and pass away.
And they said that there was a fifth of a bottle of Bacardi rum, and it was half full. So they just split that. So how in the hell is that going to cause him to die? And this was her first time. If this was her first time drinking, and she drank that much, why wouldn't she be throwing? I'd be throwing up the next day.
Yeah,
if you're
absolutely.
You're that young, you'd be throwing up if you drank that much, especially that big old bottle of liquor. No, and I'm a drinker. I can't drink that stuff. So I can't imagine a kid drinking for the first time, drinking that much and not feeling horrible the next day.
Yeah.
Because when you see the video of them in the videos of the statements, there's video statements of it. We have they don't look like they're anything. You can't even didn't even look like they were hungover. Yeah.
Okay, so I mean, this is obviously something that we are going to be talking about, looking at. You've got a lot of stuff. You've got a lot of tea to spill on that county.
Have a lot of tea, honey.
So where do you want to go from here? Like, where do we start? And this is y'all. I know y'all have already done so much on this. You know, apparently on this case that we haven't even seen because we've been talking. But yeah, and I think that's great, giving her a place to start, somebody to talk to. But yeah, where do we go from here? Like, you've got phone calls. You've got, actually, you were telling me before we went on live that you still get what? You still get harassed, still get threats, whatever, even in Texas.
Yeah.
How does that happen?
Well, the Dr. Oz show, his criminologist, reaches out to podcasters and threatens them with lawsuits if they don't pull down their episodes. And and so a lot of people did. And when they do this, and they'll try to threaten, they might try to threaten you, and you just do nothing, because the ones who do nothing happens to them. The ones who pull it down, you get a nice letter. You have to write her a letter of apology. And then she puts you on her webpage and says, this person, see another person that didn't believe Michele Barton's lies. I'll send you that. And you'll see. She just recently tried to, she actually just had somebody else take it down. They had a guy named Ron Mann, a PI, who threatened somebody and said, she's lying. We need her, you need to vet her, and da-da-da. And we're like, okay, well, give us the information. Give it to us. Show us your proof, and then we'll go from there. And so never did send it. Question, it's at so-and-so's office. It's at the criminologist's office. I can't get to it. So that's what they do. They bully and they harass these people. I've been stalked since since she dropped Tanner's case. Since the Dr. Oz criminologist dropped Tanner's case, I've been harassed. I have been stalked. I have been bullied. My phone has been, I don't even have, that's why when people say, do you have this? No, I'm basics. I'm only basics because they get into everything I do, everything. And my phone, I'm surprised we're even on here right now, and they're allowing it, because anytime I do a live or something, it's been crazy.
Okay, so I don't understand something. I mean, there are a lot of guilty people out here. There are a lot of prominent people that do things. But why is Dr. Oz's people, like, that was years ago that you were on this show. What interest do they have in this now?
They don't have a dog in this fight, but you know what? Because there's some people, and in my opinion, that are narcissistic, and that's what a narcissist does.
Yeah.
And once they get a bone, they gnaw on it. They won't let it go. They just keep clamped on it. They won't stop. And so that's what it is. Nobody's ever called her a liar except Michele Barton and murderers.
Well, here's the thing. What you're saying is, we still, as far as I know, we still have free speech.
Yeah.
We still have, hypothetically, I could get on here and say that, Joe Biden is, what do they call them? Those reptilians. Oh, he's a reptilian, But that's my opinion. Yeah. As the way I see it. And I could put up video evidence saying, blah, blah, blah. So, why can't why are they trying to hinder your free speech? This is beyond ridiculous. Well,
yes. And the reason she's doing that is because they colluded with the sheriff's department to have Tanner's case closed. And see, if the Tanner's case keeps getting a lot of attention, that means they're going to get attention, and then people are going to know what they have done to help close Tanner's case, and the unethical, illegal obstruction of justice. What they did was illegal. I mean, when you listen to these phone calls, which I'll eventually get back soon, hopefully, those when you listen to them talking, I mean, they colluded. They were like, no, this is what happened. We're going to say this. Yeah, I mean, they worked to have Tanner's case closed unethically, illegally. Yeah, and that's why they don't want people telling Tanner's story, because people are going to start listening. And eventually, once Tanner's case gets reopened, these people are screwed. I mean, they really are.
Wow.
And so they want to silence me.
Yeah. Well, I just tell you this: any creator, and I mean, let me put it this way, which because if you're nefarious, I will probably complain to use my material. But any creator, especially those that I know, we all know, we're in Discord together. I know y'all friends with a lot of creators. I'm going to tell you now, if you want to take any part of this interview, cut it up, make it a short, put it on your channel, take parts of the interview. You want to repurpose this and get this message out, you have my permission, okay? I don't care. I want this message to go out, and I would love any creator who wants to share or, wants to tell this story. Please, I encourage you. I actually beg you, please.
Yes.
I
do too.
Yeah.
I do too.
I am tired. I tell you what I'm tired of, Michelle. I'm tired of corruption. I'm tired of people, whether they're officials or whether they're, toxicologists. I don't give a rip. I'm tired of people trying to bully and,
Yeah.
and hurt victims, stop
Yeah.
cases, hinder cases, and all this BS. I'm tired of people just thinking they can do what they want to shut you down.
Yes.
And all of these people, all of these victims, there's more. I mean, as I was talking to someone this afternoon, she was telling me, oh, well, there's Michelle's case, and then there's this one, and they're also out of Kokomo. I'm like, what? What? These are all out of Kokomo? Yeah.
Yes. A lot of, yes. A lot of it. And I think it's interesting. Some of them are starting to get reopened and solved out of the blue. All of a sudden, these cases, out of the blue, all these cases are starting to get reopened and solved. And isn't that amazing? Cases like that I was supporting and helping these parents and do things. And now all of a sudden, all these cases around Tanner's case are getting solved, which is like great. But what's going on?
Yeah, I want to know. Yeah, I want to know. If y'all know.
Forever.
Can you name off some of the cases that have been reopened?
No, no, but I'll get those to you. I know there's 3 of them that were solved that was like cold cases for years. Destiny Pittman, Burnham Clerkin, and then Rouse. His ROUSE is his last name. These 3 cases all of a sudden in this last year and a half have all been solved out of the blue. Like, wow, that's crazy. Because they were all cold cases forever. And these parents begged and pleaded and begged like we did. And then all of a sudden they're reopened and solved. Or not reopened, they've been solved because they were cold cases. They were never closed. So now all of a sudden these parents are getting, which I think is fabulous. But what's going on? Is there a special task force, going after? Is there something going after these communities, telling them, get your hiney, get this stuff solved?
Yeah. I mean, well, Delphi was solved this year, so you've got that one too. Yeah, it's very interesting, to say the least. So, if some of y'all, look into some of the cold cases that are around, and I'll bet, as Doug Carter says, I bet there are tentacles, between different groups of people, certainly law enforcement, apparently. And
most definitely in Tanner's case, there are tentacles. There's a lot of them.
So, that's something that we'll look at. And I guess, we will, by the way, and we will read through all this. And I know, what time is it? I'm going to cut out in 15 minutes anyway. And I know we've talked a lot. We probably worn you out. But you and I will get together, Michelle, and talk about what to focus on next. Where to put the pressure next. I don't care. Okay? I don't care. I want to get this out here. There is a good chance that they'll demonetize these videos. I don't care. That's not what this is about. This is about getting justice and stopping the harassment. I mean, even if it wasn't just for Tanner, like, for you to be harassed all of the time, and, for goodness sakes, a protective order for 2 years. This is ridiculous. This is more than any citizen should have to endure.
And I was in Texas. I wasn't even in Indiana. So, so, which would have been long arm of the law. So, regardless, how he was able to get it was, why? Because of the connections and the tentacles. But yeah, no, I fought. That was rough. I was so upset. So upset over that one. But, it'll come around. It'll come around.
Well, we're certainly going to talk about this again and again and again. And I'm anxious to see what all these people, these super wonderful, other creators and, people subscribers to all these channels. We love to dig, we love to find out, and we love to expose corruption. So there you go.
I love that you love to do that.
Yeah. Well, you can start a YouTube channel on so many things. I had another one previously. It had nothing to do with true crime. But that's the thing. When you think about how many hours that you have to put into something, it is a huge time away. And I thought, if I'm going to do this, I want it to make a difference. I want it to mean something.
Yes.
And so that's exactly, what better thing can we do than advocacy for... There's so many things, and this is a great one. So, yeah, we'll get together again really soon. And we'll pick a subject, and then you can send me whatever, you've got, whether it's audio or video or, like, I would love to, but you said you've got the autopsy report on your Facebook page pinned.
I have it. I sent it to you. Didn't I send the autopsy report to you? I think it was in that stack of papers. If not, I'll get that to you.
It might be. I might have just overlooked it. I might have. Well, yeah, you may have, because one of them had 60-something pages. So it could be. I was skipping through there for some of the things that I wanted to present tonight. Okay.
And if it's not on there, it's short. I mean, it's crazy how short, and for a highly suspicious death of a 19-year-old healthy college athlete, how short and not thorough it was. No.
Yeah.
You'll be shocked. You're going to be shocked. Everybody's going to be shocked when they see what this is it.
Yeah.
I mean, that's it. So
it's ridiculous.
It is.
All right. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking to me. And we're going to do this again soon when we can get our schedules together, but definitely within a few days. I don't know. I have next Tuesday's my next open day. But we can work with it, even if it's, I know you don't like to go on later, but we'll work it. We'll work it some way, somehow. Yeah.
Yes, we're going to get it.
All right. And thank you all for everything. Thank you for being wonderful. And all of the things. I can't wait to read the chat. I know Michelle can't either. We want to see what's going on.
I know.
So, yeah.
Thank you so much, everybody. I appreciate everything. And like I said, come to Tanner's Voice page, support us, and gosh, let's just get this. Let's push to get Tanner's case reopened.
Yes, you are
changed.
You are amazing, Michelle. You're very amazing.
Oh, thank you.
And thank y'all so much. All right. Have a good night. You know what I always say. Whatever you do, stay safe. And for heaven's sake, stay silky. We'll see you soon. Bye-bye.